Hello, my lovelies. I hope you're all well. So, here in the UK, we have a really big problem at the moment with illegal immigration. You may have seen some stories, seen some images of protests and such. It's getting to be a real issue for us over here. We have a lot of illegals crossing the channel, the English Channel from France, in dinghy, like inflatable little boats, and coming ashore illegally. They are getting picked up by the rescue services or charity vessels who are bringing them ashore, and then we are housing them at a cost of the taxpayer of approximately £7 million a day, which equates to just shy of $9 million US. So as you can imagine, a lot of the UK public are not very happy about this situation because these illegals are being put up in some 4- and 5-star hotels. There is one in my local town where a couple of protests have happened now. There was a counter protest where a couple of people were arrested, but they have now been released without charge, even though these were Antifa scum who were acting violently. So I came across a story that ties in quite closely with this current situation. The subject of this story is a Jamaican immigrant who went on to kill after he was spared deportation following appeal by celebrities and Labour MPs. Now, if you're not aware, the Labour Party here in the UK is, I guess, on par with the Democrat Party in the US. They are very left-leaning and full of race hustlers, funnily enough. So, a Jamaican used the right to family life pledge to dodge deportation before going on to commit murder. It has been revealed. Ernesto Elliott, 45, was a prolific offender with 17 crimes on his rap sheet, including possession of an imitation firearm. So, a prolific offender who was not born in our country and had no right to stay in our country. Following interventions by celebrities and Labour MPs, his lawyers lodged a last-minute challenge against deportation, citing Article 8 of the European Convention of Human Rights. The European Convention of Human Rights is something that a lot of these people use to get out of deportation. So we really need to rectify that now that we're no longer in the EU. He claimed it would breach his rights to be separated from his UK-based family, including his son, who was convicted alongside his father of a horrific knife murder. Ernesto's appalling criminal record spanned 18 years from 2003, shortly after he arrived in the UK. So how he'd gotten away with deportation until this time, I don't know. Details of the scale of his law-breaking will raise questions as to why he was not deported earlier. Exactly. Elliott's arguments under Article 8 had already been rejected by the Home Office when he lodged an asylum application, his second, in the early 2010s. So he's been in the country since 2003, it would seem, tried to apply for asylum, which was rejected. The Mail revealed on Monday that 6 months after he was supposed to be sent back to his native country, that's Jamaica, in December of 2020, he murdered 35-year-old Nathaniel Iwagu. The challenge that blocked Elliott's removal is thought never to have led to a full legal ruling because of his murder arrest. So, there was an open letter campaigning against the flight taking him back to Jamaica, which was signed by supermodel Naomi Campbell, actress Tandy Newton, and broadcaster and historian Professor David Olusogo. A separate letter was signed by Labour politicians including Jeremy Corbyn, Diane Abbott, and Baroness Shami, don't know how to pronounce that name. In February 2020, in the run-up to a previous Jamaica deportation flight, another letter attacking the plans was signed by the opposition leader Sir Keir Starmer and dozens of Labour MPs. Sir Keir Starmer is the leader of the Labour Party currently. He took over from Jeremy Corbyn. This is a man who cannot tell you what a woman is, by the way. The cross-party letter to then PM Boris Johnson demanded that all further deportations are cancelled over an unacceptable risk of removing anyone with a potential Windrush claim. So Windrush was in the 1960s when a lot of people from the Caribbean region came to the UK and have since then lived here ever since, and we have a few generations since then. He was sent down for 3 years in 2018 for possession of a knife and an imitation firearm. He was in breach of a suspended sentence and also had convictions for knife and drug offences. Under immigration laws brought in by Labour in 2007, when they were in power, the Home Secretary must make a deportation order against any foreign criminal jailed for 12 months or more. Okay. Possession and use of imitation firearms, as in Elliott's case, is treated almost as seriously as functioning weapons because of the fear they instill. Exactly. Elliott and his 23-year-old son were jailed for life at the Old Bailey last month for the murder in Greenwich, South London. And for the race hustlers that were trying to stop this deportation because the person has the same skin colour as them, the person they killed was a person of colour. The crime took place in broad daylight in Greenwich, South London, and was videoed by shocked neighbours. Footage shows Elliott, his son and another man repeatedly lunging with long-bladed knives and a hammer at the victim, who was armed with a machete. The victim collapsed after being stabbed through the heart and died in hospital 6 days later. Onlookers who witnessed a bloody 8-minute confrontation in June 2021 suffered significant trauma, police said. Keeping Elliott in jail will cost the taxpayer more than £1.3 million at current rates. Labour MP Clive Lewis had coordinated a letter against the removal flight in 2020. The letter was signed by fellow Labour politicians. Earlier this week, former Home Secretary Priti Patel led the criticism of his blocked deportation, backed by current Home Secretary Suella Braverman and Tory MP Chris Philp, Minister for State of Crime. So, the crux of the matter. Somebody comes to our country, commit a string of crimes, apply for asylum, which is then rejected. Then it takes further crimes for them to be deported. The deportation is blocked using European Convention of Human Rights Act, which should no longer apply to us because we are no longer part of the EU thanks to Brexit. These people, Naomi Campbell, Tandy Newton, David Lammy, Diane Abbott, all these race hustlers within the Labour Party have blood on their hands, and it is the blood of another person of colour, which this man and his son and another person killed. This man should never have been in our country, and he certainly should not have been in our country after the first crime he committed, in my opinion. If you move to a country and you then don't abide by the laws of that country, you have no right to stay there. I don't care how many children you have in that country. If you can't abide by the rules, you don't stay, and that's that. But anyway, I'd love to know what you think. Let me know in the comments, and I'll see you very soon.